everyone, and welcome back to today's video for April Video-A-Day series. And today we are making a layout with just a 6x6 paper pad. So I've got this one here from ages ago. I really just like the colours. It's really nice with the green and the grey and the corally kind of orangey colour. And they're just a bit muted, so they're not in your face. And this midnighty kind of, not heaps midnight, but nice blue. So, just ripping through some colours. I've pulled out my border punches and I'm going to do that classical design that we've seen around a few times of the bordered edge, you know, the strips that have got the bordered edges to them down in a cascading kind of view. So you can see here, this is where I've got my papers and I'm thinking that will be a nice order. And I pulled out that 6x6 piece of paper that's got the little cards in it because I figured my photo could be matted on those ones and tie in so nicely. So just cutting a couple of pieces at the same time, just roughly in a shape, not a shape, in a thickness or a wideness that I think is going to work. I don't want, some I want a bit, randomy kind of size. I don't want everything to be all the same width, but I am measuring half not, if that makes sense. Now, as I'm putting them down, I'm thinking about positioning them so they're not all too in line with each other, and I will get to working on using my border punches to add some lovely texture to all these pieces. So I've got a few. I don't have like millions of border punches, but I have enough to make my day. And I'm going to just work on some layering here because I figured that looks so nice together, and I thought if I straighten up my photo and put it on as I'm making my bordered edge pieces of paper, I can see how it's all coming together. Then I don't have it clashing. So just making sure my photo is straight because obviously it never is. And it's going to add it to that border, that little card, and then I'm going to cut that card down, I believe, so that the orange border edge is not so wide. Keeping that wide edge and keeping that bit of the orange. So, taking 10 years to cut it down because apparently I don't know why I didn't edit that bit out. But we're already in the voiceover stage and I'm trying to catch up in these videos. There was so many behind a bit because there was some corrupt files. I had them all settled and all organised into each day and gone to catch up and fix everything up and spent forever trying to fix them, and I couldn't. I don't know if you can even ever, I think what happened is when I was taking photos off my phone, I might have, sometimes the connection on my phone and my laptop are a bit, if you move it, it will have a connection and disconnect. And at one stage also what was happening is it was saying my external hard drive was full and had to then cut and paste them onto my desktop, and for some reason one of those things or both of those things have caused the issue, and I've lost some really good videos. I'm really peed off at my computer. Anyway, cutting my borders, and this one I thought I'd cut in a fringe, so I'm just using my scissors to not cut all the way through, but just through enough that it gives that little ruffled fringe edge. And you can see there behind it each of the bordered edge strips in a bit of an order and a bit of a variety. I didn't want, it wasn't so much of a deal, but I wanted a bit of variety. So that one in the middle there, I think, the fourth one down, fourth one up, I scrunched it up, and I've also distressed the edges rather than border punching, just for a bit of interest. So you could totally, if you have no border punches, just use your distress tool or the edge of your scissors if that's how you distress your paper, and then scrunch up your paper and have that look. And you could have 6 or 7 or whatever strips of those paper down the side of your layout, and it would look really nice, I think. So I thought it would going to need a border to the edge of this paper, and I figured I probably don't have the same color tones in pattern paper and 12x12. So instead, and also to challenge myself and just use a 6x6 paper, I am going to use them and have used strips of them to make a 12x12 border edge. And by doing this process where I'm overlapping them and making them different sizes and heights a little, but mostly all the same so that they are a 12x12, I then made this little border. So I like this. It's sort of like a pattern paper behind it, but a bit more blocky. But it works really well because it's all the same papers that I used on the border strips. So I'm just going to make sure they're all stuck together really nicely with some washi. Damn, my paintbrush just fell down with it. So moving back off, you can see here the edge, how nice it looks, and I'm just going to make sure these are where I want them before I commit to them with some double-sided tape and some foam tape. And then we'll work on layering and then the title and the embellishment, obviously. So it's really nice to finish this layout and look at it and go, that's just using a 6x6 paper pad. It means I'm using things that I barely use in my stash anymore. And 2, I'm getting another photo put into my layout, into my album. So these first 2 I'm sticking down. So I've kept this little part in just so you can see my, you know, not the thought process, because you can't see that, but you can see the difference that I've done with each strip. So these 2 I've stuck down with double-sided tape. This one I'm sticking down with foam tape, just because it is that crumpled edge and you want to be able to see that scrunched up, distressed strip rather than it being hidden and stuck to the page. So the thing is, once I started the double-sided tape, I wondered if I'm going to then have to put all of the rest up on double-sided tape. But I do get around it in a little tricky little way. So this one I do put up on foam tape as well, just so that is layered up. And it was looking too not so random, so I cut this one down so that it wasn't all the same length. They weren't all 6x6. So this one I'm going to just use the double-sided tape, and I'm going to stick it down to the cardstock and have it coming up to that blue one where it is up on double-sided tape. So that's a little sneaky little up and down in the texture. And you can see that looks really nice. These 3 I'm going to just stick down with double-sided tape. Just looks really nice that way. I think you could totally have a play, and every time you could do this layout, you know, millions of times, and every time do it differently in terms of the double-sided tape and the foam tape. You could have all only foam tape or all only double-sided tape, or, you know, any combination that was looking right at the time. So using this one with the note paper edged on it, and then lastly with the fringe. Sorry, I'd put foam tape on the fringe, just so that's right, so you can see the fringe. I didn't want that to be too stuck to the page. I wanted that up on the foam tape so I could scrunch it and have it, that texture, be seen. So I'm going to work on my photo layers here. I do pull out a few more colours than what I just used in those Project Life kind of cards. So just cutting this down. You can see here, as I always say, I'm pretty sure, just ripping and cutting as I see fit. There's no like I do it A, B, C and then D every time. It's just how it looks with the papers and the photos and the size and what I'm going to have in terms of the background and what embellishments against it. So if I've already got something striking in the background like this, obviously I'm going to do more to the left than the right of the photo, because if I do more on the right, it's going to cover up all those lovely border edge strips and going to make it a bit less worthwhile spending all my time cutting those edges. His papers are just so nice. I can't, like, it's just so, they're pretty colours. Wouldn't be able to use them for everything, but they're just a nice, like, whoever designed it, it just went really well together. They've thought about it. So I've put that up on some fun foam. I'm using my Sharpie to add my border, just a doodly border in the white space. And then there's not much more to it. I do add some journaling and a title and some 3D embellishments from my stash. I've just sorted out my Alex drawer so I can easily access these 3D goodness in the top drawer, and you'll be able to see that a craft video tour coming up shortly this month as one of the daily videos. So I've picked that title that says family. That was a lovely little perfect colour and perfect size, and I'm just pulling out these 3D little boxes. So I picked out some buttons so far at the charm arrow. Just going to have a cluster to the left of the photo there, and then a cluster around the word family. Just think that draws your eye across from the photo to the border edge strips. So you can see how nice it is to just flick around and work out what you want out of this little container of loveliness. So there's this one as well. It's got some Charm Creations in it, and I wondered if that would go on there. It's the right, you know, color tones and stuff other than the black, but also it was just too big. I was thinking that's not what it needs, so I don't put that in there. Find some wood veneer. You can just pretty much have little boxes of goodness to fiddle around and find out what you want, and it just sort of sparks little interests and little clusters to be built. So I pulled out this little foam gold heart. It's like a puffy, it's sort of like it's stuffed actually, and I pulled out this tassel, which is the right kind of color coral, so that heart's going to nestle in there in the title. And then we're just going to add a couple of little things, a wood veneer leaf and a resin flower, and that's going to finish them off. So glued them down, pulled out my puffy hearts, going to add a couple of black ones. Sorry, that's a white one. The other layout I just did before had black. So some white puffy hearts, and then some word stickers and some journaling is going to be what ends this off. Now I thought it wanted some words up there, but when I put them down here, this is actually the best spot for them. So that just ties in the cluster and ends that cluster off. Sometimes when you build in a cluster, you can see you're like, there's just something missing and it can just be as simple as a word strip. So adding my journaling with the lead pencil, just because I didn't want it to stand out too much. And here's the close-ups of the layout. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you come back tomorrow. Bye.